What's up, YouTube? Siegfried True Lane, and today, big day. We finally got my green screen up and running, so we got a nice green screen going on here. Today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be showcasing off two different builds for Acheron. I'm going to be showcasing off the normal build that most people run, explaining the build. But then the second half of the video, we're going to be talking about an alternate build that I actually prefer over using the build that is suggested beforehand. With that said, I'll see you guys in just a second. What's up, YouTube? Siegfried True Lane, and today, like I said, we're going over two different builds for Acheron. The main build I did do in my previous video, so I'm going to spend less time on the first build and more time on the second build. Now, these builds can be used at E0, but they're definitely much more efficient at E2, and the second one is even, is just god tier at E6. But the first build, of course, is I call this the Apocalypse team because I got a T600. This is the 1 Nihility, 1 buff, plus 1 sustain build. Now, I'm using Welt in this team just because I like Welt. Honestly, if you don't have Welt, or if you don't have Silver Wolf or Black Swan, I think Welt is probably your best character to use because of his ability to slow non-stop, which is really good. The fact that it can slow multiple enemies, there is RNG on that. And then, of course, let me just adjust this camera just a bit because I don't want it to show anything in the background. Then, of course, you have the fact that his ultimate increases damage taken by 12%. And he does more damage to weakness broken characters since Acheron's pretty good at breaking weaknesses. So, this is the first build that I'm really looking at taking. I mean, this is a very good Nihility character to take into your team if you are missing Silver Wolf or Black Swan. Because of the fact that he has slow and he can actually increase the damage they take, makes him very useful as a 5-star, and his ultimate is AoE. So this is one of the characters I personally take for fun. Again, Sparkle I take because she's sparkly. Nah, I'll joke aside. Sparkle's a really good support. She's probably the best support over Bronya if you have her Light Cone. I would say without her Light Cone, not as good. But definitely the Light Cone, I think, is what really sells Sparkle, because it just pushes so well into her ultimate, as her ultimate procs it immediately, and then it's an extra 10% crit rate, 20% crit damage for your team. And then, of course, Fushuan I always enjoy because of the multiple buffs she gets. I know some people like to run Gepard, but I like the buffs that Fushuan gets. And I will say that in Swarm, if you get the right buffs, it's no problem. There are still times that they attack multiple times, but in all honesty, they don't proc enough ultimates that even if I had Gepard, I probably would still die, to be honest. So, with this build here, our focus point is crit rate and crit damage and attack. We also want to have our speed. I put my speed over Sparkle because I want her to go before Sparkle so that it goes Acheron, Sparkle, Acheron right after that, and then Sparkle coming up late, in a little bit. The Nihility again, like his Welt, just for the case, for fun for me personally. And then Fushuan. Now, Light Cone, of course, I do have our Light Cone. I actually... Look, I did not wail on this, guys. I will show you my history to show this for you, because this is hilarious. But as you can see here, her traces are done. Her relics are done. For the crit rate and crit damage set, I always run the 4-piece Deadwater set, and then an attack chain. Okay? This is what gives me that 4.4k attack. And so... Now, I do have her at E6, so there is some extra damage here. This does work okay. This will work okay at E0. The downside is you are going to miss out on 45% damage, I believe. Yeah, 45% damage because you don't have 2 Nihilities. If you have E2, these are some really good builds to go for because of the fact that at E2, you are definitely going to be getting... this is the one that's showing. At E2, you're definitely going to be getting... that 160 buff without a problem, so you're good there. So E2, these builds work great on. So, give me just a second here. Let's go over stat priority. So for the basic build that everyone goes for, again, crit rate, at E1, you can have less crit rate. It's not as important. And so pretty much the main priority stat for you is always going to be crit damage. Crit rate up to a specific percent. It is going to depend on your team, okay? That's a big thing to understand. If you have Sparkle and Fu Xuan, you need less crit rate because Sparkle and Fu Xuan is going to give you 22% crit rate. The other thing to understand is the chain crit rate does not come into play until you're in battle. So that's another 12%. So right now, as you can see, it says I'm at 32. But realistically, I'm going to get 10 from Sparkle, 12 from Fu Xuan. So that's 22 extra. 12 from the Chain and Orb, and an extra 4 from the Boots, because they're always going to be in the debuff. So that's 12 and 12, 24. 24 plus 10, 34. So that's 38% crit I'm going to get, right? So 38 is going to put this at 70% crit rate. But then I get to add on an extra 18% because if you hit E1, when you attack an debuffed enemy, your crit rate goes up by 18% for that attack. That means that we're going to be sitting at 88% crit rate. So 88% crit rate with about 300% crit damage. Okay, this is going to be insane. This is going to be insane when she hits. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. That's what you want to hit. If you have those teams, 32% crit rate is more than enough. As you can see, 88 is insane. Realistically, if you have Fu Xuan, Sparkle, and you have E1, you can pretty much ignore crit altogether because of the fact that Fu Xuan, Sparkle, and E1, as well as the set, and as well as the Deadwater set, again, is going to give you... Let me pull a little calculator up here. It's going to give you 56% crit rate. On top of a base 5%, you're already going to be at... If you have E1 and those two characters, you're going to be at 61% crit, just baseline. So you really don't need a lot of crit rate, as you can see. You're going to be baseline at that. So, something to remember. Don't worry too much about spamming crit if you have those characters. This is why having those characters, by the way, is kind of such a big deal. All right, like having some, like pulling for Sparkle is a big reason because of that. Now, I would say if you have Sparkle, this is the better team to go for. But let's go ahead and go into the second team. Now, the second team I'm going to be showcasing, I'm going to be honest, it's okay at E0. The crit rate team might be better at E0. At E1, E2, it's going to be good. And at E6, it is the best build to go with for Acheron, 100%. Now, some things to remember is, if you have Sparkle, it's much better to go a crit damage, crit rate build. If you have Black Swan, I would suggest going this build because DOT characters do much better when the breaking is much better for dots. So let's go over this team here. Now, as you can see, this team, the switches I made is my Nihility is Black Swan, not Welt. My buffer is Ruan Mei, and my support is my sustain is Fu Xuan again. Fu Xuan is my ultimate sustain. I love this character. Now, if you did not pull for Ruan Mei, just so you guys know, Ruan Mei is this game's version of Kazuha. Ruan Mei is insane, and I will show what she does later. I don't think people really understand what Ruan Mei does. But if you have Ruan Mei, you definitely do not want a lightning orb. You want an attack orb. Black Swan, again, is a dot character, and she increases lightning vulnerability. And then, of course, we've got Acheron. So let's go over how this build works, okay? First of all, let's take a look at our main stats here. I already, actually, as I've showed you before, I showed you the team. We already know what's going on here. You know Fu Xuan stats, blah, blah, blah. What we're going to take a look at is our stats here. As you can see here, we're still sitting at 31.5% crit. We have 200, almost 250% crit damage. Actually, I want to see if I was to get this, if I somehow can get this to 5, would that be enough? That would be 12% crit. Yeah. Funny thing is, if I get this to 5, if I get 2 more of those, this will actually hit. This will actually, one more copy will at 249.8. So I could probably hit 250 crit damage with this build. But anyways, we look at the attack. We're barely short 3.8, 300, like 3.8k attack. Barely short, but that will actually change a bit as you see in combat. Our speed is a bit slower, 107, which is fine because we don't need to be faster than we're actually be 317 with Ruan Mei, so we can get that 10% speed. Crit rate 315 again because of if you're E1 in this build, it'll be a little easier. If you have Fu Xuan, this is easier because we're going to be looking at some increased stats. We'll go over that in a bit. Crit damage 241.8, and then of course break effect 115. So let's go over how this build works. Okay, now. Our traces for this build are, of course, not traces, relics are, of course, 2-piece. So we're not going to get that extra 8% crit rate or 20% crit damage. But we are going to get that extra 16 break effect. And that's kind of what I wanted to go here. Mostly because I actually have some really good stats. Like, this has really good stats rolled on it. And this one has really good stats on it. In fact, this crit rate here, if you take a look here, right, between these two, this is going to actually make up the lost crit rate. So all we don't actually have, all we're losing really is a little bit of attack and about 18% crit damage is what we lost. That's it. Actually, no, technically, no, we lost more because we get this 18 on it. So we lost crit damage. Realistically, we lost crit damage is what we lost. As for the chain, we switched the chain to break effect. But if you look here, we get some of that crit damage back here and some of that attack back here. Not the best chain here, but I mean, like, double HP is not that good. I wish this was a crit rate stat, but it's okay. Orb is the same. Attack, boots same, chest is same. All we change is the hands, feet, hands, helm, and chain. And again, this number is deceiving for the crit rate. The crit rate will actually be, if you have E1, going from an E1, right? And I would suggest going for E1. If there's enough in-game right now, guys. If you can get E1 or E2, like, I have a friend who got E1, E2. She's free to play. She's going for E3. If you can get E1 or E2, it's worth it for Acheron. Acheron's value jumps up. I would say E0 Acheron is an S-tier unit. E2 Acheron is a triple S unit. E4 Acheron is triple S+. And E6 is just God. And every Eidolon for Acheron is good. That's something to remember. Usually, if you look at Eidolons, you might get one where it's like, this one actually would be pretty good. Let's see if I can find one that's like meh. That one's actually really good. I keep picking ones that actually have really good Eidolons. Who has a bad one? I know somebody has a bad one. Okay, like okay, basic attack, right? That would be pretty bad. For her skill, it's pretty good, but you'll get some that it's just like you don't want. Like, where's Don Hang Il? For example, Don Hang Il, if this was like a skill in an ultimate, it wouldn't be as good as the basic attack, right? So that's like something to realize, right? Or like if, for some characters, it's just like you only want one of their abilities really matter, right? And it gives you a buff for something else. Let me check Sparkle. Like, for example, if Sparkle, like basic attack, right? Basic attack doesn't really matter. Skill is kind of good. It's the ultimate that's like, if this was basic attack and probably ultimate, it would be pretty bad. When we take a look at Acheron, though, all of Acheron's stuff is good. Like, E3 is an ultimate buff. That's good. E4 is ultimate damage increase taken. And this, by the way, is permanent, which is going to come into play with E6. Skill and talent, great. Like, every one of Eidolons for Acheron are good. If you get an Eidolon and Acheron, it's all good. So, if you've got her light cone, go for her Eidolons, like 100%. E2 is just fucking insane. So let's just go with, we're going to calculate this at an E1 because E1 is possible free to play. 100% possible. If you don't go for it, that's not because you're free to play, it's because you made a choice. It is possible. But let's go to E1. So we're looking at 31.5, right? At E1, if you had Fu Xuan, because again, Fu Xuan was a must pull. If you skip Fu Xuan, that's I don't know what to say to you. But that'd be 12% crit rate. Plus, Acheron gets that base 18%. This puts Acheron's crit rate at actually 61.5. Plus her chain. I forgot the chain. Plus the chain. So this Acheron is sitting at 73.5% crit rate. She's 15% below on the crit rate, crit damage build. But she's still above 70%, which is a big thing. Her crit damage, again, is going to be 261 because of the chains I have on my two supports. So she'll be sitting at 73.5 crit rate. Oh, sorry, not 261. I made a mistake. She'll be looking at 73.5% crit rate. I have E1 Fu Xuan, I forgot. With an extra 50% crit damage. So 291. 291 crit damage, right? So she'd be at almost 300% crit damage. This is kind of why I want to get her to 250, because 250 in this form would put her at 300% crit damage. So she's going to have high crit damage, have crit rate, okay? But the big thing is she's also going to get 20% break effect. So she's going to be at a base 2035. And then when Ruan Mei ultimates, she's going to be at 165. Sorry, 135 and 165. And then this damage boost is also going to go up. You'll see this go up to quite a bit, actually. Now, I will be honest, I do spend money in the game, so I did get Ruan Mei a bit higher up. So there are extra benefits I get to having Ruan Mei, because I have this I get this ignored damage. And, of course, the increased attack if they attack a weakness per character, which happens a lot. Now, the reason I'm running Black Swan is because Black Swan has this right here, which I got E1 for a reason. This resistance reduced as possible. Again, guys, as a free-to-play player, in all honesty, this is a team you could have. This is not a whale team. You could have Fu Xuan E1. You could have Ruan Mei E2, and you could have Black Swan E1 and Acheron E2. If you watched your summons, if you were actually saving for these characters, you could have them. Okay, a lot of people I think skipped Ruan Mei because they didn't realize how good Ruan Mei is. Ruan Mei is the Kazuha of this game, and we'll show that. Anyway, so that's the build and the stats here. Priority stats. For this build, stat priority is still going to be attack, crit damage, crit rate, and then break effect. Now, the big thing is that you do want to try to have a crit rate, depending on your character base, of a certain amount. Because everyone will get that 12% crit rate, I would say you want a minimum of 50% after all calculations are done. So if you only have E0, and this is the team you have, if you don't have Fu Xuan though, but you only have E0 and you have Black Swan, then that means you're going to be starting off with a base of 17% crit rate. You need to get an extra 33% crit rate in stats, okay? This means that you need an average of 5.5% crit rate on every piece. So in other words, if every piece rolls crit rate, you're pretty good. You do want a crit damage chest piece. Do not roll a crit rate chest piece. Get a crit damage chest piece. It's not worth the crit rate. The only reason you should grab a crit rate chest piece, in all honesty, the only reason you should ever grab a crit rate chest piece is if you have crazy crit damage on every other stat. If you have crazy crit damage on every other stat, like I'm talking like 20 crit damage in every other stat, then you could go for the crit rate chest piece, but you would need crit damage on every single piece of a 20% or higher, as that would give you, that would give you 120% crit damage from that, plus 70%. So you'd be at 170 crit damage. Now again, it's so much better if you can just roll crit rate on your pieces of like 5%, 5.5% or higher. So I would suggest that over a crit rate chest piece, but if you don't have that luck, then I mean, I get it. Artifacts can be a pain. But again, the point of this guild is this game is to build your character, so I would still just farm artifacts till you have enough. Okay? Relic set again, like I talked about here. Okay, so that's pretty much our stats bonus. Crit damage, I would say minimum 200%. So you want about 50% crit rate minimum, 200% crit damage minimum, and 100% break effect minimum, and I would say 3.25k attack minimum. These are the minimum stats. These are the stats you want to be at. Anything higher is better, but those are the minimum stats. So if you're going to be below 50%, if you have to go below 50% crit rate, but you have 250% crit damage, I would lower your crit damage to get that crit rate. If you have, say, a piece that's going to put you at 220% crit damage, but 3,000 attack, like 3.1 attack, or 3.25 attack, and 200% crit damage, take the piece that's going to get that minimum attack stat. Ideal stats would be 3.5k attack, again, above 200% crit damage, 50% crit rate, above 50% crit rate, and then again, that 100% break effect. Alright, so these are the two different builds we're going. Next, we're going to be showcasing the builds. I'm going to showcase them in the final boss of Simulated Universe World 9, And then I'm also going to showcase them in the final floor of the Forgotten Hall. So I'll catch you guys in just a bit. Okay, so we're at the first boss. Sorry, I decided to do World 7 because I actually do need something from World 7. We're at the first boss. And again, for this one, we are using the crit damage build. As you can see here, there's our crit rate, crit damage. This is the team, all about buffing our crit rate and crit damage. And we're going to see just where we hit. We will hit about over 5,000 attack when we're fully buffed. So let's go and just take a look at this. We're going to pop all of the buffs here. We're going to just take a look at the difference in damage between these, as well as just like CCing ability. So here we go. Now, one disadvantage of this team automatically is you cannot always break the boss, which you could with the other team. But we do have him locked up, as you see. He is imprisoned, and he is slowed. So it's pretty much like we already hit him with the ultimate. That does mean that what's going to do extra damage. We're going to go and finish our hits off. Go ahead and bring her right back up. And then we're going to go ahead and do our first attack here. Now, I do run the hunt with this one, so I can bring her up much faster. Go and let him come in here. We're going to attack off here. Pop this here. We're going to go and pop Welt's ultimate and Sparkle's ultimate, just so that we can lock these guys up. Now, I do go to the path of the hunt for this, just because, again, I want her to get her attacks multiple, and she does have the highest attack stat. In fact, if you take a look at her, as you can see, her attack is at 5.5k right now. Her attack's at 5.5k. So, we're going to go and pop this real quick, just so we can break some people. And then this should allow her to do some... Yeah, she'll break everything here. Well, almost everything. But she'll get to go again, so it's fine. I will say one thing that's really beneficial about running this is to... Let's wait for it to bring up enemies. If you can run this, get the break, anything that's break effect, it's very useful because she breaks all the time and give her multiple attacks. So here we go. And dead. So about 1.8 million is what we done the final boss here. So again, we are going to be showcasing this in the Forgotten Hall as well, but we're going to go ahead and come back when we get here with the break effect set. So I'm going to come back, do this world again, change to my break effect team, and we're going to do this boss on break effect. So I'll be right back. Okay, we're now back at the boss. This time we're with the break build. Just to showcase that, you can see my break damage is at the 115. Relics-wise, boom. Now again, in Simulated Universe, you do get some better stats going off from buffs, but that's what we're going to do for Forgotten Hall after this. I just want to do the two endgame first, showcasing how these builds work. Now, the benefit of this build is going to be that I can break the boss regardless. And I have, if you actually want to take a look at my blessings, right? Like, the blessings are not what I would have wanted. Like, I do run Nihility on this, but, and while I got breakness efficiency, I did not get the actual increased break. And I got a couple of these, like, I don't need these that I really can't use. And so it's a little... kind of a bummer that I don't have what I want. Like, I would have rather had at least 6 of these. It would have been... a perfect run would have been both Nihility and Erudition. I mean, as you can see, I mean, like, we got ones that just, like, don't do us any good. This one, I would have liked some hunts. Like, the weakness break is good. These 3 hunts are good. Getting the hunt where if I break, I get to attack again would have been good. Definitely would have worked really well with another hunt. But, so, blessings-wise, it's pretty bad. The other one I actually hit a Curio, I forgot to talk about, that enhanced all my blessings. So all of my blessings were enhanced in the last run. So this run, buffs-wise, I'm actually quite weaker in the simulated buffs-wise. Let's go and see just how this goes. Black Swan's talent, Ruin's May talent, Fu Xuan's talent, and Ruin's May talent will allow me to break this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this with full buffs up. Look at that. I start and he's immediately broken. That's round 1, he's broken. So let's go ahead and go to round 2. We're actually going to save our ultimate for the final phase here. We'll just kill these guys regularly. Except for Ruin Maze. We can actually use Ruin Maze early. We'll use Ruin Maze early. Now, a benefit of the Ranked Nihility path is that her stacks are going to go much... Acheron's stacks go much faster in Simulated Universe with this path on. Just let this go off. Alright. So let's take a quick look here at our buffs. Now this is the reason why Ruin May is so good. Especially when you mix with Fu Xuan. We are running an attack war, but look at our lightning damage. We're at 109% lightning damage. And we're sitting at... already, our attack is sitting at 4.2k. So our attack is at 4.2k. Our crit damage is at 320. Our crit rate's at 60.5. Technically 78.5 because of something we can't see right now. Then we get 27 resistance penetration plus ignoring 20% of defense. 30% break effect. We're also getting the where is it at? What am I looking at? I know there's another one I wanted to find. Maybe. Oh yeah, that's right. It's gonna be on the enemy. The enemy also has, you know, a right here 8% more damage from ultimate, and because all of her damage is considered ultimate E6, this is why, because of all Acheron's damage being ultimate E6, is why E6 is so powerful. But the break effect is the second part. So we're gonna go ahead and just, you know, we can pop this ultimate. It doesn't really matter. And then we're going to go ahead and attack. So as you can see, she's already at 9 stacks. The good thing here is, as you can see, everyone attacks that gives her a stack. So we can go ahead and attack here. And this is just going to kill everybody. But then, we're going to automatically get 3 stacks. We can get another 2 stacks here. Pop that, and pop that. This is going to give us another... I don't think this will give us a stack. Oh, no, that gives us a stack as well. This will give us another stack. And then this right here will give us another second. We're going to calculate how much damage this is at the end. All the buffs should still be up. So now, let's go ahead and go into our attack stage and take a look at all the stats. So once again, as you can see, break effect is at 165. Our crit damage is at 78.5. Crit rate 78.5. Crit damage over 300%. Our attack is fucking insane right now. Our attack right now is at 4.6k, right? We have 122 speed. We have 27% resistance penetration, 20% damage, and then, oh no, the damage doesn't matter. The 27% ignore defenses, sorry. 50% break efficiency, which is not the same as break effect. The boss right now is suffering from 22% reduced resistances. Down here, we got, where are you at? Where are you? Oh, lightning resistance minus 25%. And increased ultimate damage received by 8%. Like, this guy's gonna take a lot of damage. So remember, the last was about 1.8 million. Let's see what this hits for. That's 417,000 already. 607,000. 2 million. This is why I like the break effect better. 2 million damage right there. Now again, this is Simulated Universe. We're now going to go into the Forgotten Hall and see how this works in the Forgotten Hall. I'll see you guys in a bit. Okay, we're now in Forgotten Hall, floor 12. You can see here it says Eve of Wanton Fest 12 at the top corner. We are running the crit rate team. I can't, for some reason, show my characters. It won't let me go to the characters, but I'll go and I'll show the stats. You'll see what I mean with the 300% crit damage. So let's go ahead and get these ready for him. We're going to pop this, get our buffs up, and bring on Acheron in. So if we go, as soon as we go to our character buffs, you'll see what I'm saying. Alright, so character buffs wise, if you take a look here, you can see crit rate 70%, crit damage 330. Definitely shows that we have, oh, and down here, if you look here, we get the 4-piece by Pioneer Diver set. So you can see that we are in the crit damage set piece. So let's go ahead and just hit these real fast. Then we're going to go ahead and kill things here. Let's get those debuffs up. Bring up Acheron. And we got that crit damage. You see here we got that 443% crit damage. Now, one benefit for the break team is that I did not get the increased break damage, so my stats are going to be pretty much the same where their difference would be. We're going to go and do this first. Alright, so they're broken. There we go, Sam is up. Pop our damage buff. Okay, the lock on target. This is going to allow Welt to get his ultimate right here. I mean, we're going to get a damage boost right here. What we're actually going to do here is we're going to attack with Acheron first. Because I don't think she has that crit damage. No, she doesn't. So we're going to get that crit damage boost first from her. We're going to go here. Give her that crit damage boost. We're going to double check her. Make sure she's ready to go. She is. Now, one downside of this build is that we aren't going to have as much of that at sea. Oh, actually, no, we got the 142, actually. So we got 142. So it should be more crazy once we pop up. Unless, actually, is that die? Let's see. So red herring. Oh, yeah, the red herring is what gives us the damage. So that should be hers. Skill. Red herring. Or is that her ultimate? Oh, there it is, right? Dude, look how much damage this is. Dude, 5.6% for 2 turns. And then that actually gets buffed up by her ultimate as well by an extra 9%. Like, this is why, if you're running, honestly, if you're running Sparkle or Ruan Mei, you do not need an Elemental Orb like that. We're at 150 lightning damage right now. We got our perfect stats, so we're going to go ahead and pop this again. And go straight to ultimate. And let's just see what this does here. $780k right off the bat. Work on restacking those stacks. We've got the double slow. As you can see, we got our ultimate back up. We go back in here and do our ultimate again. Do we still have the damage buff is the question. So we don't quite have the same damage buff. We got over 100%, so go and go on in. Go and get our skill points back. Plus our speed buff. Delay his attempt, but this will probably kill him, to be honest. Alright. So about 800,000 was max on our crit damage. So now we're going to reduce again with break effect. So I'll be back once we hit the break effect. We hit the boss with break effect. Okay, so now we're here with the break build. Again, you see the team is mixed. When I go into this, our stats, you'll see the 150% break effect. Now, the benefit of this team is that we can break regardless. So if this did not have a lightning weakness, we would still break. And we're going to go into this right now. Here's how this works. Yeah, as soon as we get a chance, we'll have to wait till we get in. So we got our damage buff up. Carter's dead. Again, all those stacks, which is nice. Alright. So if we go into our stats here, we can see that we're sitting at a base. Our attack is 77 base attack percent. We're going to see how much that jumps up to with Ruan Mei. But real quick, we're going to start building up our stacks. Because I don't want to do anything until we get to the final boss. Actually, technically, we could attack here. So we're going to go and kill this guy real quick. We're just going to kill them real quick, because I can kill him real fast. We got the 3 stacks. So we got about 350 their base. We got our ultimate ready. There we go. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and pop this first. And followed by that. And real quick, we're going to take a look at what our stats are after Ruan Mei. So our elemental boost now went from to 161. Yeah, so now we're at 100. Like, it's pretty flippin' high how much she gives us. So Ruan Mei and Sparkle are really good for damage buffs. If you have them, you don't need an attack. You don't need an elemental orb, to be honest. Go and pop that. We're gonna go and pop this as well. Just so we can get those debuffs up. That's gonna put us at 7 stacks, 8 stacks. And as you can see, right now Sam has a shit ton of debuffs on him. If we take a look at him, he's got, you know, increased shock damage taken. He's got increased damage taken. He's got the breakness, double break. He's got increased elemental damage. He's going to take a lot of damage here. So let's go ahead and start with this so we can get the 2 stacks. Going in. Remember, he took 600, like about 800k last time, so this does technically a little bit less. It does do less on this boss, so the crit damage is probably a better set, in all honesty, for this run. But the damage is really negligible, so we're going to go ahead and up the skill. Don't take buffs. Alright. I'm not sure why he got 50 attacks, but okay. Tells me to do something, but doesn't give me a chance to do it. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and kill these guys real quick. As you can see, that's going to get another debuff on. Attack. Buff. And since this turn is not over, he should still have some stats debuffs on him. Do we still have our damage buffs? And we still have, look, we're almost at 200% damage right now. And he still has the lightning resistance down and all the other resistances, so now we're just going to go ahead and destroy him. So, in this one, the crit damage build is a bit better. Although, realistically, it still takes the same amount of ultimate. There's not much of a difference. The difference in damages isn't really that high, but I will say this. One thing I noticed was in the Swarm, or in Golden Gears. Golden Gears, I was able to complete things with break, because I could continually break things, which was delaying turns. So it's one benefit of the break effect is delaying turns. So anyways, guys, I'll be right back. So pretty much to end the video, I would say if you have Ruan Mei, a break build is much better. If you have Sparkle, a crit rate build is better. Hopefully you have one of those 2 Harmony units, because there's only been 3 5-star Harmony units in the game. And if you guys have not pulled for any of the new Harmony units, I'm not sure what to say about that. Harmony units are kind of a must. Having at least 2, 1 for each team, is important. So if you've been sticking with Ting Yun because you think Ting Yun's enough, I'm going to be honest, guys. Ting Yun's not that good. Not compared to Ruan Mei, not compared to Sparkle, obviously. Not even compared to Bronya. If you're a free-to-play player, you really should prioritize pulling a Harmony character to go along Bronya. Sparkle or Ruan Mei both run really well with Acheron. They really do. So that's one thing that you should really consider doing. Next time one of them comes around, you need to pull. Or Robin's coming. If you do not have Ruan Mei or Sparkle, you really should pull for Robin. Robin is going to be really good. She's getting a huge damage burst. I'm going to be pulling for Robin as well and getting her light coat. Just because, I mean, I like to mix my supports up, try different builds. As you can see, if I did not have Ruan Mei, I couldn't do a break build. I need her for the break build. So it allows me to make 2 different builds for Acheron, which are fun to run. Sparkle's really good for getting those skill points back if you want to run Don Hang IL. So that's just something to look at. And to be perfectly honest, I did not plan to go for Sparkle. I ended up going for Sparkle because I luckily pulled her light cone. I decided if I pulled it before hitting 70, I would go for Sparkle because Sparkle was guaranteed and I was like 5 summons away. Got it. Pulled for Sparkle. I'm glad I did, because Sparkle does run better than Bronya with her light cone. That 10% crit rate off the bat is beautiful. So, if you don't have Sparkle, but you have Ruan Mei, my suggestion, build a break build. You can use Welt or a Dot character for that. I would say Welt is going to be better to run than Kafka for Acheron. Kafka is good if you have Black Swan and you have to run double Nihility. But I would say if you only have to run 1 Nihility, Welt or Black Swan or Silverwolf are the best 3 to run with. Something to remember is because Black Swan can put all 3 debuffs down with her ultimate, or all 4 debuffs down with her ultimate, makes her really... No, sorry. All 3. 3 or 4? No, I think, no, it is all 4. All 4 debuffs down with her ultimate makes her very valuable because of that right there. And because Welt can increase damage taken and Bronya can increase damage taken. No. Silverwolf can increase damage taken. Sorry, that is a Bronya. It's just different Bronya. Because they can both increase damage taken, they are very useful. Kafka doesn't really do much for non-dot teams. If you're running Kafka because you think she's going to be good for the team, honestly, she's not. She's only good if you're running Silverwolf to keep the shock damage resistance, down up more often. But if you time it around right, that's not really necessary. Acheron can pretty much two-shot bosses, and Black Swan's ultimate will last that long. So that resistance down will last long enough for her to do it. Now, if you do not have E1 Black Swan or her Light Cone, honestly, I would suggest running Silverwolf or Welt. Silverwolf and Welt are going to be better. Black Swan is only good if you have E1 Black Swan. Now, for a break team, Black Swan is better because dots excel with break stuff, so that's really good to run. But also, Welt gets 20% damage on break. So if an enemy is broken, Welt does 20% more damage. So these are things to consider when building your teams. I think Welt is underrated for how well he could run with Acheron. So these are just some things to consider. Anyways, guys, I'm going to end it here. I got to get this video uploaded, and then I got to leave in about 30 minutes. So I'll catch you guys later. Secret Lane signing out. Y'all take care.